SailGP is back in New York City. The culture capital of the United States will see 10 world-class teams battle the complexities of New York Harbor. $2 million is on the line, and emotions are at an all-time high.
Actually, let him blow, let him blow. Nathan, let's go this again.
Welcome to SailGP in New York City, where every point matters.
Waves crash underneath, sound like thunder speaking. Flying carbon machines, driven by the world's best, yes. Powered by nature, raw passion, all action. When it takes, racing on water, racing with impact. Give it all, everything, give it all, everything. We are racing. When it takes, we are SailGP.
For centuries, voyagers have passed through New York Harbor in hopes of a brighter future. Today, SailGP makes its return to these iconic waters as the best sailors in the world battle it out on the Hudson River at the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix. Welcome to the Empire State and the Big Apple. Not since Season 1 has the league raced on these waters, but today enormous crowds are expected for the first weekend of summer. And with the titans of sailing congregating off the shores of Manhattan, fireworks are expected at the penultimate event of the season. The race will be on to secure maximum points as the season finale looms on the western horizon in less than a month's time in San Francisco. With former world champion Emily Nagel and Olympian Stevie Morrison, I'm Todd Harris. Before we go racing, let's bring you up to speed on the action thus far in Season 4 of SailGP.
It's been a wild season. And with $2 million on the line, the pressure is building.
Nathan, time.
New Zealand's Blackfalls are sitting pretty at the top. Mathematically, they've already made the grand final, but they'll be wanting to avoid anything that could cost them a chance at the prize money.
I think for us it's really about going to the grand final comfortable with momentum, so we're not going to be backing off at all. We're going to be pushing it 100% and really looking forward to trying to get another win on the board this weekend.
Spain have the best story this season. They've answered their critics and are capable of causing a huge upset.
Give it up for the Spanish. They will claim the victory here in Bermuda.
The points are so close that if you relax a bit or you take it a bit more conservative, you can easily end up really far back in the fleet. And for us, is as always, try to do the best event we can. We'll see what happens.
For the first time in SailGP history, Australia will be defending their third place overall to keep their spot in the grand final.
This season we've had a lot of highs and lows. I'm not really focused on our competitors. I have full faith that we'll be in the final in San Francisco.
Behind them, both France and Denmark will be looking to push Australia out of position, and they'll be feeling confident after making the final in Halifax.
It's a bit early to start racing. Teams ahead of us, Spain, Australia. We just got to make sure we will beat all of them, and then I think San Fran's going to where it's going to come down to the match racing.
Every race is with no margin, so just to be really focused, keep it the whole team in peace, and just try to sail as free as we can.
After 11 events in Season 4, it's the Blackfalls of New Zealand that have a commanding double-digit lead in the overall standings. Spain has moved into second place, just 1 point ahead of the three-time defending champions Australia. Then it gets very sporty with France and Denmark still in the fight to make the top three. Emirates GBR has 3 wins on the season and just won the last event in Canada, but they and the Canadians will need top-of-the-table performances and some help if they have any chance of making the grand final in San Francisco. That is the mission. Make the top 3 and give your team a chance at the big payday. At the end of the season, the winning team will lift the SailGP Season 4 Championship trophy for $2 million. But how does it all work? Our scoring system awards points for each race that teams compete in across a race event. The top 3 teams with the most points will face off at the event final.
one final race in order to determine who takes the event title and battle it out for maximum points towards the season standings. 10 to the winner, 9 for second, and 8 for third. 4th to 10th place are awarded season points based on their position from only the fleet races. These points are crucial for the season-long championship leaderboard. The championship leaderboard is recalculated after each event, and the 3 highest-ranked teams at the end of the season qualify for the winner-take-all grand final.
3 full fleet races are scheduled for today, with each race winner receiving 10 points. Last place is awarded 1 point. Then on Sunday, we will see 2 more fleet races before the field is cut to just the top 3 teams on points. And that trio will have the chance to race in the winner-take-all event final. Right now, Stevie Morrison takes us through today's course map.
Our racetrack's on the Hudson River. Be behind the line at 0 and then sprint straight to Mark 1. From here, the path opens up. There's no one route for the teams to follow. At each gate, the crews can turn left or right. Those white lines were the wind, these blue lines are the current moving down the course. For the F50s to sail fast, they need to sail at an angle to the wind to generate speeds. So there's opportunity aplenty to overtake the boats. The current is a big tactical factor here for the crews to think about on the racetrack. It's a short course, the start's going to be crucial, and to finish first under the Manhattan skyline is going to be a full pressure affair.
All right, thank you, Stevie. There are all 10 international teams out on the water, ready to battle it out in the New York Harbor and a short distance from the bright lights of Broadway. Before we get to Act 1, let's check in down on the water with Olympic silver medalist Lisa Darmanin.
It's great to be back racing in New York. The wind is looking pretty light at the moment. It's blowing from the south around 20 to 28 kilometers per hour. There is a lot of cloud around though, so the wind is super up and down in strength, and I think we'll see a little bit of a pattern emerge here out on the racetrack, but there should be plenty of opportunity for overtakes. Configuration-wise, the light airfoils are in to help the F50 stay high above the water, and the 24-meter all-purpose wing to harness that power. I have just heard, however, we are under a 5-minute delay due to France having some technical issues, so they've got the tech team by their side at the moment trying to fix that, and hopefully we'll get underway quite shortly, Todd.
All right, so a delayed start because France having some technical issues. There you see in the center of your screen the French flag, and they will try to work those out. So that puts us 6 minutes and some change away from the start of race number 1 of 3 today. That gives us an opportunity to get some other breaking news in here, and that news, Stevie Morrison, involves Germany making contact yesterday with Australia in practice. Now, nothing serious, but the league obviously does not want these boats coming together at high speed. The damage is too expensive. Let's go back and have a look at it one more time, but this is going to cost Germany 4 points before they even set sail.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a sort of stand-fast rule over the season. Contact has consequence, and there was a mistake made at bottom gate yesterday. Very aggressive. We're going to have a little look back at it now. It was a tight rounding between Australia and Germany. It all went pretty fair, but yeah, the contact happened.
Right.
It was a mistake by Eric Kyle. He's kind of put his hands up and said sorry for it, having watched back at the video, you know. But yeah, here we go. There you go. So we got Australia must give room to Germany. They did that. And then as they leave the mark here, Germany now have to watch out for Australia. And the Germans got a little high on the foils there. And yeah, we had contact. So here we go. But on board Australia, see Slingsby looking back there. He's got his head round, checking where the Germans are. Now suddenly it's Germany who've got to keep clear, but you see him get a bit high. And took Tom by surprise, to say the very least. And, you know, there was damage. It wasn't major, but, you know, you can see how close it gets to people, and we don't want that.
So all good here at the rounding, Stevie. It's right here.
Yeah, they just start to get a little high, and Eric starts to press the boat. He wants to accelerate. He wants to press down onto that foil, so he turns to his right. But unfortunately, Australia were in the way. So, yeah, bad start for Germany. Mistakes happen, but, you know, it was fortunately nothing too serious.
So in the shadows of Lady Liberty, we are getting set for the first race of 3. And from driver to strategist, every crew member has a role to play on board. Each role works in tandem, so together they make a team that delivers the most exciting racing out on the water here for SailGP.
Maneuvering the F50 is extremely difficult. It's a massive coordination effort. If one person is not proactive, then their job and everyone else's gets much harder. The driver is the leader and makes the final call in the balance of the boat in the pursuit of maximum speed. The balance is delicate, and the driver does this because they can sense and feel the most through the wheel. The wing trimmer harnesses the power of the wind with the F50 wing sail in the most efficient way possible. It's like a door. You close it for more power and open it for less. Create too much power and you capsize. Create too little power and you fall off the foils. The flight controller's goal is to find the optimum height to make the boat perform, constantly making changes to keep the boat flying. Get caught out of sync and it's like sailing an uncontrollable roller coaster. There are two grinders. Their job is to provide the power that turns the winch for the wing trimmer, as well as provide tactical support. While the grinders need to be strong and fit, providing that tactical information while your heart rate maxed out is no easy task. The driver doesn't have a lot of time to look around, so they make decisions based on the information they're getting from their strategist. The strategist paints a picture of the whole race course for the driver to see. The skill of a strategist is to know when to say what, and those big decisions can be the difference between winning and losing. Ultimately, the better each person becomes in their position, the stronger, calmer and more intuitive a team becomes, meaning they can focus less on making the boat go fast and more on racing and winning.
So we're currently hoping for the wind to fill in as the fans continue to make their way to Governor's Island. Great viewing all around the southern tip of Manhattan. We're 2 minutes away from the first of 3 races today. Emily Nagel is a former world champion. You were here in season 1 when we came and raced here. These conditions, would you say they are tricky in these waters in the New York Harbor?
It's definitely tricky conditions out there. It's very different from when we were here in season 1. Wind direction's complete opposite. But what's really interesting out there today is we've had some thunderstorms before when the first boats launched, which meant they practiced in some big breeze. It's now dropped, so it's a lot shiftier out there, and we've also got tide playing into the situation as well.
So, Stevie, you've got two rivers coming together, the East and the Hudson. It empties out there, and there you see as we are under 90 seconds to go, so they'll try to figure that out. It looks like France has got their technical issues sorted out, so they'll get themselves into the start box, and then it is full on 10 international teams, the best sailors in the world, in the shadows of Manhattan.
Yes, quite a view, isn't it? I think, you know, there's a lot of interesting features, and always in the first race of the event, the crews are learning the racetrack. So there'll be a lot of things to learn. Those blue arrows on our screen, that's the current, shows it running down from bottom of the screen to top. However, I'm not entirely sure if that's actually what's happening out there at the moment. The crews have been sort of saying it's not quite as predicted.
So 50 seconds to go. Everyone must get into position. There you see the start line on the right-hand side, and then they cannot cross that until the clock hits 0. So we'll see who times it right. Everyone getting in their position right now. Canada first to get themselves set up, heading back towards the start line.
Well, here we go now. We see at the top of the screen, Spain, bottom left-hand corner of the screen, sorry, is Spain. USA tacking in late, but they're going to control that bottom end of the start line, which has been strong. New Zealand up and foiling with 25 seconds to go. They're at the back of the pack at the moment, but that doesn't mean anything for now. In the middle of the line, Switzerland are well positioned, Great Britain are well positioned, and France needs to hold back on some timing here. I like where the Kiwis are, but is there going to be a gap? I don't see a gap for New Zealand. Here we go, timing crucial. Watch for the line to turn red. It's going to be France at the top of the line, United States at the bottom. Who's called it right? Great start by Rottwell, Denmark. Can they get round Switzerland? They're going to have a fast angle in towards Mark 1, and the Danes, can they roll over Emirates, Great Britain?
So the race is on here at the first race of the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix. It is Nikolai Sehested and Rockwell, Denmark. On their left-hand side, though, you've got Giles Scott and Emirates GBR as they make the turn here at Mark 1, and we are up and racing in New York.
Oh, Lady Liberty's got a look at the Brits on the inside there, and Emirates Great Britain controlled the inside. Great boat speed from the British there. They turn away at Mark 1 first. They will control things. I expect the wind to start getting light ahead of them. Early manoeuvre after Mark 1 should be a strong move. Here go the Australians.
just keep it going here.
Oh, United States, they missed the jibe. Big mistake by United States. They're off the foils. That's going to be so costly.
Better turn up when we can, guys.
Yeah. Get the board up if it's not, yeah.
Oh, they had a great start there, Todd, but they just tried to force it through the jibe, forcing it hard.
And look at the speed difference here on Australia, 56 kilometres an hour compared to 40 on the Danish. The Aussies are just rolling over the fleet now.
Not quite the speeds we saw, Emily, in practice yesterday, but that wind has died down. Hopefully it fills in over the next 2 races.
Coming in here. Coming into gate 2, Todd, and this will be an interesting decision. Do they turn back to Governor's Island, or is it left turn and hope to find more wind to the bottom of our screen?
Straight, yours.
From what we saw in that practice lap before they started racing, we saw more wind away from Governor's Island, but the boundary is a lot closer on that side.
Gate 2, Australia on the inside. They've got the right of way here over Denmark. Denmark need to keep clear at the bottom of the course. Oh, if he can sail him off here, Denmark, if he can stay out that yellow circle, it's going to be so tight. Almost match racing manoeuvre here. Australia should have rights to turn on the inside. Will Rottwell split? Communication tricky on board there. Tom Johnson not totally sure of Nikolai's plans, but it's just done enough. It's less wind down at the bottom of the course here, Todd.
So as they make the turn at gate number 2, it is Emirates GBR, the winners of the last race in Halifax. Australia sits in second, Switzerland's moved into third, and then it's Denmark, France, and New Zealand. Tough sledding so far for Spain, Germany, and the USA.
I think that's what showed us. It could be the story of the day. If you get tangled up around other boats, you just lose a lot of distance very quickly. Australia and Denmark were really only a few metres behind Great Britain. They fell off the foils fighting each other, and Emirates Great Britain have shot away. But look at the wind. Bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Denmark is looking in a good position right now.
And meanwhile, France can't seem to get moving at all here. Still 2 hulls in the water.
This is the first race of 3. They're on leg 3 of 7. It'll be a quick turnaround, but right now, Emirates GBR, Giles Scott have this thing figured out. And Nathan Outers, the wind whisperer, and the Swiss are in second.
Wind across the course at the moment here. GBR in 26k an hour of pressure. Danish slightly less at the bottom of the screen.
Lisa, we've seen some big clouds out there and some big splits in the fleet. Have you got any idea of which side of the course looks good from the water?
Well, I think where Denmark went, they had more pressure, so they did that left turn. But then as we move up the course, so where GBR is getting now, they're at the top of Governor's Island. That's where I'm sitting. There's a really nice breeze sort of funneling down the shoreline. So it is really shifty out here and really gusty. I think what we'll see is we'll probably see a left turn at this next gate and then early jibe to get away from that lee of Governor's Island. But it's going to be pretty hard out here for the sailors. It looks like those foiling manoeuvres are really tough. And as you said, you just don't want to get in the way of somebody else and mess up your race.
Giles Scott makes the move across, takes the wheel away from Hannah Mills, the strategist. Luke Parkinson's the last man to come across, and now they're up and sailing again, trying to get up on the foils. Maximum speed here as they approach the next gate. It'll be gate number 3, Emirates GBR with the lead. Denmark has moved into second place now, with the Australians holding on to third.
Well, how much does confidence do for you? They couldn't buy a win a few weeks ago, and now they can't avoid them. But Emirates Great Britain just sailing the boat smoothly, and they've got out ahead. You can just see France and the United States, they made a mistake on that first downwind leg, and look, hammered back to 9th and 10th.
Working away. Yep.
Slow and steady, calm maneuvers and calm communication on board Emirates GBR. As we said, they won the last event with Giles Scott, the new man at the helm, taking over for Sir Ben Ainsley, who stepped aside into a management role, putting his focus on the America's Cup coming up this fall. But great battle going on here for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th with Denmark, Australia, and Canada.
I think we just saw that little graphic there, Todd, of the disturbed wind coming off the boat in front. It was coming off Rottwell, Denmark, and it was going on to Canada and United and Australia. And that's the fact. As soon as you're back in the pack, there is a lot of disturbed wind. Your first choice is maybe not the best choice anymore. You've got to make decisions based on that. So the art of it is how can you pull back through the fleet, and New Zealand have been that boat normally.
Keep an eye on the Kiwis. They are the current overall leaders in the series after 11 events, and they have always seemed to find a way to get themselves through the fleet. They were back in 8th place, now they moved up to 7th, make it 6th.
Well, but they got stuck on the Spanish a little bit then, as we see Great Britain are firing away out in front. Rottwell, Denmark, how much do Rottwell, Denmark need a win here in New York to give themselves a chance of that top 3?
Dane's currently sitting in 5th place overall, 7 points out of the 3rd and final position in the grand final. And of course, they are behind France as well, who sit in 4th.
Left gate by 100 now. Copy.
Okay, that's interesting from Hannah there. She's saying if you turn left at the bottom here, that's 100 metres less distance that you'll sail. However, does that put you in more wind? Does that put you in better current?
Okay, cancelling.
Communications between Hannah and Giles Scott.
One. Yeah, nice, boys. Okay, turning up in 2.
That's one and in right.
1, working up.
Better keep clean with these little personal battles when we can.
Okay.
Keep clean at Rockwell and try to attack up the upwind.
Copy.
Self-coaching. I mean, that's perfect. It's exactly what you're saying. If you get tangled up with other boats and you compromise your own performance, you're going to be slow. So expect Slingsby to go straight and turn right at the bottom here with Rockwell Denmark turning left. That gives him the opportunity to sail his own path, his own breeze. So he's sailing a little bit more distance, but he's going to have space. He should be able to go faster from it.
So through gate number 4, it is still Emirates GBR out in front. Nikolai Sehested and Rockwell Denmark have moved into 2nd place with Tom Slingsby, the Australians, in 3rd. And here comes Phil Robertson, the Canadians, top 4 with Nathan Outridge in 5th.
Big wine, boys.
Pretty big gaps opening up here, Todd. Quite surprising to see that, really. I think it's just, you know, as soon as the boats find that rhythm, if they do fall off the foils, they do slow up, as can happen in the pack. The gaps open up really quickly. But New Zealand, well, they're back to 6th, still struggling to get a good start at the moment, the Kiwi crew.
I think it helps Australia here as well that it's a much more open course. They do tend to do better when they've got more space to stretch their legs and hopefully close the gap with that British and Danish team. But it does make it then trickier for the Kiwis. You know, they are sailing up the course, they do sail less distance, but they've just got a bit more room that it doesn't make it quite as easy.
Steve, you know, I want to go back to that strategist role. We heard from Olympic gold medalist Hannah Mills, who's the strategist for Emirates GBR. She is calling things out, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Giles Scott will always do what she is calling out.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's about getting information onto the boat. You can't make good decisions without good information, but at the end of the day, not everyone will see things exactly the same all the time, and you have one final decision maker on the boat. I mean, they'll have decided that. I imagine it's Giles.
We've got to be a little wary of that bottom left corner now with the tide change.
Oh, that's interesting. So that bottom left, so the side in near Governor's Island, they're saying the tide will start changing in there first. So rather than going from left to right, it's going to start going right to left. So the treadmill starts to work against you. You don't want to be in that side and running. You don't want to run against the treadmill if you can help it, Tom.
Yeah, I think if we can get it, it's good, but... tide's with us at the minute.
But yeah, back to your point. There you go. Giles and Hannah, constant communication, but at the end of the day, like anything in life, you need to have one decision maker at the end of it, and that will be decided before the event. Hannah will be given information, but at the end of the day, the buck stops with Giles.
No problem jibing on the mark, Rob. No issue boats at the moment.
Rob isn't on the boat, Rob's in the coach booth, so that's their coach, Robbie Wilson, and he's talking to them about the big picture strategy, and I think that's a real unique feature of season 4 coming on. The coaches on the shore are communicating live, and they're effectively a 7th sailor on the boat, so there's an awful lot of information coming in, probably less so from the 2 grinders at the front, because they're working pretty hard and they'll be blowing pretty hard, but yeah, it's a big communication game.
Nikolai Sehested, the driver for Rockwell Denmark.
We'll go to M1. Really nice pressure coming down. Happy to sound a little higher if one.
We've had some interesting tactics here by the Danish. They've worked on covering the Australians, so almost mimicking where the Australians turning to make sure that they don't get that advantage by splitting away from the Danish.
How big a moment for Rockwell Denmark, though. I mean, ultimately, you think about this in the pressure of the season. Australia, they're not in that final. They're not home and dry. There's a lot of pressure on Slingsby here. 3rd place, he'll be pretty happy with that. But he's not going to like seeing Rockwell Denmark ahead of him. Although Rockwell Denmark have just done a poor jibe in the middle of our screen. They've fallen off the foils. They might still be okay if they can pop it straight back up.
Race number 1 will go the way of Emirates GBR as they approach the finish line. The USA in 10th place. They should not factor in this at all. And we will take a bow and hand the first win to Giles Scott and Emirates GBR as they get the win in New York City.
Tight moment there. The United States, of course, have still got to go upwind a little bit and get away there. So it might have been slightly confusing for people watching, but clear win for Emirates Great Britain, and yeah, Hannah pretty happy with the first one. About winning the last one that counts, though, Todd.
Emirates GBR fighting against the lap traffic as they come through the finish line. The USA still has to go down to the gates at the bottom, top of your screen, and then come back up as they sit in 10th. And we got a nice little battle here. Canada and Australia getting together.
Canada had the right of way, but as soon as they leave that mark, Canada have got to keep clear of Australia now. Expect Australia to push. He looks like he's clear ahead. Slingsby just enough, but Phil Robertson, he loves a bit of action on those final turning marks.
The Aussies came around that, though, with 20 km/h more speed, just accelerating through that turn.
So it's Denmark that holds on for second place here in race number 1, and Tom Slingsby, the defending champion in the series, he will take third, with Canada grabbing fourth. Remember, it's 10 points for the win, 9 for second, 8 for third, all the way down to 1 point for last place. And unfortunately, that is where the USA is sitting right now as France holds on to 9th. The Kiwis have salvaged something at us like they always do, Stevie. They will hold on and take 5th.
They do seem very good at the comebacks, but I think they'd still be pulling their hair out on the shore to actually try and get a decent start in there. They're just struggling to quite hit the timing. Again, they're pretty well set to make it to the final on board that New Zealand boat, but Pete Burling talked a lot before the event about momentum, and I feel like maybe the momentum's not fully with them at the moment. They're very fast, they sail through the fleet well, but they've got work to do.
Nathan Outteridge brings his boat in as they cross the line in 6th place after a great start. Remember, they were running the top 3 all the way up to 2nd place after one leg, but they dropped back. The top 6, though, not terrible for them. Diego Botín, winner in Bermuda 2 events ago. Disappointing day for them as they will finish in 7th place, with the Germans coming in 8th. And then the battle is on for 9th and 10th. There you see at the top of your screen in the distance, it is France and the USA in a little bit of a match race for the last 2 positions.
It's disastrous for France, that is, Todd. They can't afford this if they want to get to this grand final. Big, big problem.
So it's Emirates GBR that comes to New York City and gets the win in race number 1.
Talk about the ley line, please. There. 3, 2.
Well, what a race for Emirates GBR, fresh off that victory in Halifax, Canada, and they come back in race number 1 and get the win. Not necessarily the very best start, but they were in the mix, Stevie, and everyone else has said, stay out in front and stay away from everyone else, and that's exactly what Giles Scott did. He, Hannah Mills, and the rest of the crew kept it simple.
Well, they were on the inside, weren't they? I thought Denmark were probably the fastest and the closest to the line, but they had the inside position, short leg to Mark 1, dominated from there.
So the France will beat the home team for 9th place, and the USA will finish dead last in 10th. All right, lot to unpack here on race number 1, day number 1 at the Mubadala, New York Sail Grand Prix here on the New York Harbor.
And exactly as Stevie suspected, the Danish did hit that line with the highest boat speed at 58 km/h and only 300 milliseconds behind the line. GBR were the second best at 45 km/h, but ultimately they were closer to that optimum point on the line, had a better angle to Mark 1 and led the fleet around the rest of the course.
Well, yeah, and you just see how it's so important to lead at Mark 1. It's so important to be accurate with your manoeuvres here on board United States. They missed the first jibe, they fell off the foils, and if you fall off the foils, you just slow right down. Massive error there, hugely costly. And from then on, it was really about trying to optimize your performance, keep yourself in space, minimize the maneuvers, and the British did that well from the lead. But Rottwell, Denmark, and Australia, maybe a little bit of a sneak battle to make that grand final in San Francisco. They need a mistake. There were no mistakes from Emirates Great Britain, but it's just tight. If you do make any errors out there, you get punished pretty hard, and it's tight to the end of the race. Got to remember that all the time through these races, every point really counts. Canada dived inside Australia, but Slingsby made it stick. Got the result.
And looking at the numbers, we can see the secret behind Emirates GBR's success, ultimately sailing less distance and doing less maneuvers than all of the other teams. But what I find really interesting is you look at the Kiwis. They actually had the best average speed around the course and still did less maneuvers. but because they had a poor start, they weren't able to sail all the way through the fleet. So really focusing on getting that start perfect is the key to success here.
Let's go down on the water. Lisa Darmanin is with the winners of race number one.
Giles, sports about momentum, and you're keeping the momentum from Canada.
Yeah, I suppose we are at the moment. Yeah, we've had a good start there. I mean, very, very tricky conditions here. Breezes up and down and lots of current to mess with us as well. But yeah, we'll take that for race one for sure.
Is there a key to the racetrack? Just what's the key to getting around this tricky racetrack?
Well, I think that one, it was solid foiling if you're out in front, but in the pack it looked very, very tricky. So as ever, starts are a massive thing, and we just managed to get our nose out in front, nail the first couple jibes, and that was it. We were away, and it was pretty nice sailing from there. But yeah, I'm sure it'll get tricky.
Thanks, Charles.
All right, thank you, Lisa. 2 more races today, and the action so far has certainly lived up to the billing. The entire weekend kicked off with a spicy press conference exchange between longtime friends and allies, Canada and the USA, plus additional fireworks that set the sailing world on fire with the announcement of a new team joining the league for Season 5.
Welcome to New York City for the official opening press conference for the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix.
Best sailors in the world battling out on the Hudson River.
We do have some incredible news.
We're delighted to announce the formation of SailGP's first ever South American team.
Thanks Mubadala and Mubadala Capital to give the opportunity to project Brazil name around the globe.
To have Brazil on the start line is very special and cool to expand to South America, so welcome.
So Tom, the incredible capsize in Halifax, what went wrong?
Essentially what we had was a technical issue and a button failure. We were leading that race and we had a good chance of making the final, and that didn't happen, and yeah, we've just got to roll with the punches, and yeah, the boat's been fixed and we're ready to roll here.
Giles, a lot of people have been saying the performance in Halifax seemed to come from nowhere.
I'm not sure it came from nowhere, but yeah, certainly nice to get out in front of this fleet for the first time since I joined the league, certainly.
As we head into New York, points and positions are closer than ever. The battle for third is playing out between Australia, Spain, France, and Denmark. Sitting in third, Tom Slingsby of Australia. How uncomfortable are you in such unfamiliar territory?
I know how this team performs under pressure, and we've just got to rise to that pressure again. We have in the past, and we will again here.
Speaking of rivalries, the US versus Canada was on full display in the latest episode of Racing on the Edge. Phil, I know you've seen it. What do you make of Taylor's comments that you are arrogant?
I guess he doesn't know me very well. You know, the US team has been struggling a lot, and as an investor of that team, I would be asking some serious questions. The sport's tough, there's no secret. It's a tough league, it's competitive, but at some point, you've got to walk the walk and not just talk the talk.
And we've got 2 more races still to go. Beautiful day here in Manhattan. We'll have much more, including races 2 and 3, when we return to Governor's Island in the Hudson River. This is the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix.
Mubadala and SailGP making waves together. together.
Day one of Event 12 here at the Mubadala, New York Sail Grand Prix. Todd Harris, Stevie Morrison, Emily Nagel, and Lisa Darmanin, as we are under 5 minutes away from race number 2, scheduled for 3 races on today.
Here on the Hudson River, there is a really interesting tidal flow that creates a crazy tactical scenario with max current on the left side of the channel and less on the right. Our tactical software suggests a right-hand turn at the bottom gate will set you up to make the most of the current, while going left-hand would be 4 seconds slower. But what we should really be looking out for today are these tide lines that we get appearing. They show less current and more current on either side based on how dark the water is. So sailors will be looking out for those color changes to help figure out the fastest way around the course.
Longtime allies, America and Canada, have a great tradition of friendship and mutual respect. However, in SailGP Season 4, that traditionally stable relationship has been put to the test, as both those teams' drivers have fired verbal salvos that seem to be the beginning of a new Cold War out on the water. Following the United States SailGP's capsize in Bermuda, Canada's social media team were quick to poke fun at their misfortune.
Engine start, no problem. Tidin, problem, engine kaput.
It's funny. I mean, you're laughing, I'm laughing, so it's pretty funny.
Yeah, I think they crossed the line. Yeah, it's not going to be something that we're gonna take lightly, and we're not going to forget.
Well, where's the other one? Back to the drawing board for Bermuda.
Yeah, our social media team is very aggressive, and to be honest, I have absolutely nothing to do with it at all. But look, if they don't like our social media posts, they can come and talk to us, and we'll try and explain it to them.
Bill Robertson and Taylor Canfield have history. Will we see this rivalry play out on the racetrack this weekend?
I'd say Phil's probably more on the arrogant side, to be honest. He's always seems to be talking down to people like he's almost, above and better than them. And
I think the first time I raced against Taylor was in 2009. And at that moment, he was an arrogant little college kid. And the only thing that's changed since is he's no longer at college.
I think, when Phil's good enough to race for his own country, then he can start running his mouth.
This is Race Committee. The course for race 2 is 5MS. The axis is now 180, length is 0.72 nautical miles. Good luck.
So there's the word from race management, as we are less than a minute 45 now away from race number 2. Race number 1 again won by Emirates GBR. Great Britain gets that victory, followed by Denmark and Australia. A lot of work to do, Stevie, for the Americans, as they've got to rally quickly.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to sort of beat a team while it's down, but unfortunately that's now 4th, 10th place in a row if you go back to day 1 in Halifax, and that's not a record they're going to want to keep. They had a great start in that race, focus on the positives, good start, got to Mark 1 well, small error, but small errors are massive at this level.
So they'll get themselves into position, and then the dance will begin. Remember, they need to hit that line when it goes white at 0, and there you see Manhattan in the distance. Beautiful day of racing here, just off of Governor's Island. Lady Liberty, as they make their way now in. Less than a minute to go. Points at a premium here. Remember, 10 points to the winner, so Great Britain already has 10 points. Denmark has 9, Australia has 8, and the Americans have 1. Only the top 3 teams will race in the event final. That comes after 5 fleet races.
New Zealand have changed things up here, Todd. Look, they've turned back a bit early. They've not put themselves out the back, given a little bit more chance to find a way through here. United States late in. France, they're the boat, left-hand side of screen, that are going to try and wind it up from a long way out. That didn't didn't work too well last time, but if they've got their timing right, it could be a lot better. New Zealand, slow at the moment, but well positioned. United States turn in late. Australia up and foiling. 23 seconds to go. Australia and Switzerland are well positioned at the moment, but it's who's got the gap. There you go. That's our pole predictor gold star on Australia at the moment, but can they execute from here? New Zealand are foiling at the bottom of the line. Australia at the top of the line, and Switzerland hoping for a gap. How's your timing in the middle of the line here? Phil Robertson, he turns the boat down on board Canada, but it's a little too late, and it's going to be Switzerland with the perfect start through the middle. They should lead the fleet to Mark 1, and the Roos are going to come flying in from the top.
Enough to clear the gas. When we're here when we can.
So it's Nathan Outteridge and Switzerland that has the lead. Will they get the whole shot? France is off to their right, pushing Canada also. And here comes Australia and Germany. Those 5 boats way out in front.
Big change here into Mark 1. Great news for the Swiss. They should be well positioned. Going to go straight, but they need to manoeuvre quite soon after Mark 1, as they've been talking about less wind. New Zealand, they're in the middle of the pack, but it's not a great start for them again this time.
9 and angle. Being patient, go straight.
That's the voice of Will Ryan there talking to Nathan Outteridge, and he's trying to get them to turn up. That's because it got very light in their manoeuvre, and they've fallen off the foils nearly. I think they're back and foiling. They should be safe on board Switzerland.
France, meanwhile, completely off the foils up there. Kiwis as well, and the Canadians.
Here, Nathan, then. We're all good, we're all good. Almost sounded like he was trying to reassure himself then, but that is going to turn into a massive lead for Switzerland. It's got so light under the fans on the shore in Governor's Island.
And look at this, almost all the teams now off the foils. The wind has dropped out, so let's go down on the water. Lisa Darman, what are you seeing as far as the conditions, and what are we getting in the next 10, 15 minutes?
Well, I can tell you the French, they're up and foiling. The New Zealanders, they're going to get into the next pressure next. So the best breeze is over towards Lady Liberty. So everyone that is able to get away from Governor's Island for the time being, they should be able to pop on the foils. But it's about patience out here. Look, it is really up and down. It is tricky. I think also when they do that maneuver and they've got to go back the way that they came, they're sailing massive angles out here, and it's pretty painful. But yeah, Switzerland are looking pretty nice with their old flight controller back on the boat, Francois Morvan.
Talking about flight controller, what a shot from the T-Mobile 5G POV camera there under the bow of the Switzerland boat. We saw the foils, we saw how high they were flying, and they did an absolutely brilliant job of that manoeuvre. Look at that, nearly 200-metre lead back in the pack. Well, it's hard when you're at the back, and at the moment, Rockwool Denmark are filling that place, really struggling for breeze. What's the Swiss going to do? I imagine a left turn to all the winds towards the bottom of our screen. If you turn right and head in towards the fans on Governor's Island, it's not a lot.
Which mark has wind, do you think? I almost feel like we're going to come back where we came from.
So Nathan Outteridge talking to his strategist. They're looking for pressure out on the water. As Lisa mentioned, conditions very tricky right now. Maybe best to do exactly opposite, Stevie, what he just came from.
I think he'll look to turn back straight away here. Here we go. Yeah, they're going to turn right. It's a little bit what Emily said. That right turn at the bottom's favoured for saving yourself manoeuvres, but you don't want to head too much towards the top of our screen and towards the landmass of that island. Any landmass tends to block the breeze. No skyscrapers, but even in this light winds, even a low landmass like Governor's Island will be affecting things. And New Zealand, there we go. Hocus pocus. He's out of the fire there. Burling's got him back up to third from a poor start.
So it's Switzerland out in front, France in second, New Zealand all the way up to third, then it's Canada, Spain, and the USA.
And it's a shocker here for the French team, who were doing so well. They've come off the foils in that final maneuver and look like sitting ducks.
How does that happen, Stevie? I mean, is it just, have they just sailed into a pocket of no breeze?
Well, it's a little bit, every time you maneuver, you lose speed, and ultimately, when we see the boats foiling, the speed they've got generates its own wind. It's a speed-generated wind. We call it apparent wind in sailing. It's like when you're driving along in a car. There can be no wind, but if you stick your hand out the window, there's a lot of wind. So the fact that the boats are moving, they're generating their own wind. If you make any mistake, slow down, suddenly there's a lot less wind. And there's what the fact of things, they've fallen off the foils. They've got no speed. They've got no apparent wind. It's hard to get back on the foils.
And on days like these, if you come off the foils, it's not just 50 metres, it's a couple hundred, as we've seen here.
Diego Botín and the Spanish have moved up to 5th place.
And you can just see, look at the screen here, Todd. It's not a lot of wind at the bottom. As you look towards the top right-hand corner of our screen, you can see some dark patches on the water moving down. That's a sign that there will be more wind coming down. But I just think in general, as you move up the course, there's more wind on average. So this bottom of the course, there's a lot of opportunity to overtake, but there's an awful lot of opportunity to have a bit of a disaster and get yourself stuck.
That's good news for the Swiss, who they have come off the foils in the middle of the course there, but moving into that darker pressure now, hopefully extending their lead.
Todd, we've not had to talk about time limits for quite a while now, and I'm a bit worried we might have to if this breeze doesn't come back to pop the leading boats up onto the foils. Australia stuck in the middle of the pack, but Seherstedt, he's out the back. And that's not good news for the Danes. It's, of course, this big battle for the top 3 grand final places. And for France, for Spain, for Australia, and for Denmark, it's crucial they come out of this first day here in New York with some good scores.
What else is shocking is the team that won the first race, Emirates GBR, currently are mired in 10th place behind the Germans and the Danes.
There we go, Giles Scott is talking about doing a left turn at the bottom. I guess if you're last, it's probably time to roll the dice.
It's good news at the moment for the Swiss and Kiwi teams who are starting to see 20k an hour of wind pressure at the top of their rig.
Look at that, Outridge. He's got the Swiss boat. He's going parallel nearly to that yellow line. What does that yellow line on our screen mean? It's called the ley line. That means you can get to that next gate with no more manoeuvres. So for Swiss fans, it'll be good. Here we go, the Wind Whisperer. Let's have a listen to him.
I am getting a little lift here. I know the left mark is favoured, so we would only take left if you think we can nail the jibe out of there. Go up a bit.
Talking about the plan, so this is Nathan saying it's going to be less distance to sail to a left turn, but I don't mind about distance at the moment. All I care about is staying in wind, so I'm going to do an extra manoeuvre. I'm going to sail extra distance, but I'm going to do it an awful lot faster. See, look at that. He can nearly turn left in a one, Todd, but he's choosing to sail more distance to get in more wind.
Coming away in 2. 1, wing down, all the way down.
That was a really nice shot there as well, showing just how long they keep those foils down in the water when it's light like this. Having 2 foils in the water means double the lift, so trying to force the boats to stay foiling for as long as possible until they've built enough speed to stay stable.
And look at the rest of the fleet, all still down at the other gate as Nathan Outridge is looking at possibly lapping some of the teams out here, and it is still Switzerland out in front, New Zealand second, Canada in third, and then France. Remember, the race time is 16 minutes, and we still have a good 7 to 8 minutes to go in this race. So Outridge making great progress here on this leg, but the rest of the fleet is really struggling.
It's just hard if you get off the foils, and we're going to be interested to see what does the Kiwis do here. Do they? Okay, so there you go. Pete Burling, happy to roll the dice a little bit. Blair saying safer go the other way, turn right. Burling says let's turn left, but let's get out of there quick. What a view for the fans there, Todd. Look how many people have turned up. And we saw some fans under Lady Liberty, plenty of fans there in our adrenaline zone, getting the full adrenaline hit now with the Kiwis coming close by.
So Blair Tuke crosses over first. And here comes Pete Burling. He'll take the wheel. Boy, they are really high. Look at that.
Yeah. Andy Maloney not shy to push it. As Liv Mackay runs into the middle. They're looking out. The trouble when the boats... Oh, my, have a look at this. Looks like a great call for the Kiwis at the moment. That could be a deceiving camera angle, but right now, it looks to me like the Burling Tuke team has found the breeze, and the Wind Whisperer, he's lost the lead here. He's having to sail nearly parallel to that course there at the moment. He's making no progress down the course. He's off the foils. Kiwis are on the foils, sailing towards more wind. Looks good for them.
And breaking news, this race will be suspended or ending at the next gate. So this is the last leg, and look at this. Once again, Peter Burling picking the perfect time to make that maneuver as he pulls into the lead ahead of Switzerland.
Tell you what, Todd, there's a lot of pressure on this maneuver. That almost looks a bit rushed. They're off the foils. We just saw in the background that the Swiss were on the foils here. Crucial moments here. Can Switzerland nail the next maneuver?
And not only are Switzerland up on the foils, Canadians are as well, and aiming towards the Kiwis. It is a race now for the Kiwis to get some pressure and get back foiling.
Switzerland's in breeze. I like where the Swiss are at the moment. He should be able to stick this manoeuvre on board here. Pressure's on. How does he do? Oh, what a perfect time to go to our T-Mobile 5G camera. Does it stay put? Yeah, they're back on the foils. Swiss are going to do it from here.
They're about 300 meters away from the finish line in this shortened race. It is Switzerland who gave up the lead momentarily to the Kiwis, and then Peter Burling and New Zealand found themselves a bit of a hole as they have lost that lead, and now Nathan Outridge can see the finish line less than 300 meters away.
Just when I said the wind whisper had gone the wrong way, the Swiss, Nathan Outridge, he got it right at the end. Canada up to second at the moment, and they're sailing in that better wind.
Yeah, we saw Phil do an extra manoeuvre there to stay in the pressure and follow in the route of the Swiss team.
So Canada has moved up to second, France has moved up to third, and New Zealand has dropped back to fourth. Final maneuver for the Swiss.
H1 exit. Transition is heel. Emmett confirming we're finishing here.
Nathan Outridge just checking all the boxes,
just making sure.
And at this point, Stevie, they can put both holes in the water and just cruise across casually to the finish line. So what a race here in race number 2. It was shortened, but no matter. Nathan Outridge and the Swiss will claim the win in race two here in New York City.
It's tricky out there at the moment. Good work by the Swiss. The Kiwis are back up on foiling, showing us third. They should be able to stick this last manoeuvre, but for Canada, well, that's a huge moment for them. It's gone very, very well. And of course, for some of the crews, it could be about where they get round the top gate, gate number 3. That could be crucial for them.
Race will terminate in 4 minutes and 40 seconds from now.
Stiff neutral for me, please. Stiff is neutral. And turning. Runners are going up.
Peter Burling coming back into play here. He dropped back to fourth. It looks like he's going to be able to salvage a third. So Switzerland got a 6th in race number 1. They get a first place in race number 2. Canada a 4th and a 2nd.
And a really rough moment again here for the French team, who were in second, moved back, dropped back. Now they're in 5th and stuck still off of the foils. Now, with a 9th in the last place, they really needed the points here. They are just on the edge of qualifying in the overall for that grand final, and they need every point they can get here in New York to make that happen.
Peter Burling and the black foils cross the finish line. They will finish in 3rd place. But it is Switzerland and Canada that get to the finish line first. They get the 1st and 2nd spots. Peter Burling holding on again, as we said, for 3rd to go with his 5th in race number 1. So the consistency, Stevie, is still there. I mean, they didn't have their best race, but somehow Peter Burling found a way to get the points in 3rd.
Yeah, they made a pretty clutch decision at Mark 1 that really pulled them up through the fleet, and I think that's been the trademark of their season, really. I don't see them having done a great job with the starts until they get to those final 3 boats, but Pete will tell me it doesn't matter until you're in the final 3 boats. That's the only race you've got to win. So, yeah, we see the Spanish here coming downwind. Nice result for them. They tend to do very well in these light, tricky conditions. They sail the boat smoothly. Look at that silky smooth turn there by Diego Boutin through their stay on the foils. They're going to glide across the finish line, and now we can see in the background,
here's the race.
You know, it's really, really tight with France and Australia. The French can't really afford for the Australians to overtake them here, but they have fallen off the foils. We've got 2 minutes and 50 seconds until the race terminates. What does that mean? That means that if Australia and France can get to this gate in that time, their result will stand. If not, go back to the positions at the previous gate. So pretty crucial for Australia and France to make the finish here and stick this.
Tom Slingsby able to take his hand off the wheel and get a good view.
Come on, let's just keep,
All I saw there was anxiety. He just was just willing the boat to get back on the foils. At the moment, it's stuck in the water. He's struggling to get in the water. The French, though, they're coming into the finish. Kiwis really need to get out of the way. A bit of acceleration from the coach boat there. France are off the foils, but they're pretty lined up for the finish, and I think they're going to be okay to stay in 5th. It's so gusty. There's just more wind towards the fans. Up in the screen there, top right of corners, that's where the fans are on Governor's Island. There's more wind there.
And less than 2 minutes now until this race terminates.
So France really has about a minute 45 to see if they can drift across the finish line, because here comes Emirates GBR with speed at 25 kilometers an hour, and the Australians still have breeze.
Well, the Australians have really dropped off the foils, and you saw how tense Tom looked on the boat there. He's lost a place to Great Britain. We know how much places mean. Could be crucial for Giles Scott getting back towards 6th here. It's so tight in the pack. Painful for these crews, but that's just how it is. We're powered by nature. Nature turns on and off. Very, very cloud-driven day here with the thunderstorms in and around the place, causing the wind to be up and down.
So a minute away from termination, it looks like France is going to drift across just in time. The big question is who's going to finish in 6th and 7th? Will it be Emirates GBR, the winners of race number 1, or will it be Australia? We'll have to update that momentarily, but it looks like the French are in clean. France will take 5th. Big winners in race number 2, the Swiss.
And once again, it was the start that won the race overall. The Swiss came flying in with 10 seconds to go, up on the foils. First boat to cross the line, again, less than a second. The French hot on their tails, but the French's first maneuver dropped them off the foils, giving the Swiss that advantage.
Yeah, and it was pretty silky smooth by the Swiss out of that mark. You could hear them encouraging the wind onto the boat. They got up on foiling. You saw the speed suddenly grow, and the Swiss were gone. Big lead, moved away. And it was the French with some slight errors. Errors just got absolutely punished in this breeze. And it was the Kiwis that sailed very through, decided to make a little move away from the fleet. Burling made the tactical call to attack. The attack worked pretty well at this stage. They looked very good on board that New Zealand boat away from things, but it was this manoeuvre looked a little bit rushed to me. Be interesting what they were rushing for, but there was just a lot less wind there. They fell off the foils, and that was it. Swiss back, took the win. Tricky tacticians race course.
And let's send it down to Lisa Darmanin, who's with Nathan Outridge and the winning team, the Swiss.
Well, Nathan, it doesn't look easy out here. Does it feel easy?
It's definitely not easy out here. It's very shifty conditions today. The first race was probably a bit more simple, but that last one got super dynamic, and it helps when you get a good start and get that first shift. But yeah, it was a bit nerve-wracking on that last downwind when the Kiwis took the other mark and made a huge gain. So yeah, it wasn't over till it was over, but our team started a fantastic race, and it was nice to get a race win.
And when your boat is in the water, when everyone else is up on the foils, how are the stress levels?
It's extremely stressful when you're in the water and others are foiling, and it's a huge relief when you're foiling and they're not. So, you know, we definitely had our fair share of foiling and disappearing in that race, but we were talking about at the top mark that it's not over till it's over, because you had to get back through the bottom where there's next to no wind. So this third race is going to be really tricky.
And how are you going to use the next little bit to prepare for the next race?
Well, we'll just have a little chat with the guys and talk through some of the boat handling stuff. Obviously, it was a good start, that race, so try to work out how we replicate that again. And hopefully our coach is in the booth right now, Emmett Lazic, having a good look at what the weather's doing and giving us some tips before we start.
I'll let you roll into it. Thanks, Dave.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Nathan Outridge. So the Swiss get the win in race number 2. Remember, Emirates GBR gets the win in race number 1. And that's how it plays out so far. Remember, 10 points for the win. So right now it is Canada by consistency at 4th and a 2nd. So it's 16, 15, 14. New Zealand currently sitting in 3rd place with Emirates GBR just missing out as it stands, but there's still 3 more fleet races, 1 more today, with Emirates getting that 7th place in the 2nd race. That really hurt them. Australia currently sitting in 5th. The Americans, they are really struggling on their home waters. It's all about making the top 3 by the time SailGP arrives in San Francisco. That is the big show, and that's where $2 million will be contested in front of a packed house. New Zealand leads the way with 83 points. Spain sits in 2nd on 72. And Australia, they currently sit in 3rd. It's been a tough go for the 3-time champions of SailGP. And the Aussies are looking for a big momentum shift as they prepare to hopefully defend their crown in San Francisco later on in July.
So far this season we've had a lot of highs and lows. We started really well, we were consistent, got out to a nice lead.
Here on home waters, Tom Slingsby works his magic. Hocus pocus, Australia takes the win in Sydney.
And then since Christchurch, where we had the big crash into the mark and copped a lot of penalty points.
Australia's blocked by Canada, they can't turn, they're gonna crash.
Canada!
Oh, contact, Australia turn, but they've run over the mark's underneath the boat. Carnage on board the Australian boat.
Yeah, we're done here, guys. Sorry.
They received a 12-point penalty in this event and got 8 points docked from the season championship. Tom Slingsby, disaster in New Zealand, but back with a bang here in Bermuda.
And then we had a few technical issues on day 2, which, yeah, I'm not saying that cost us a win because I think the Spanish deserved that win, but we probably weren't firing on all cylinders there. And then Halifax, day 1, we didn't sail to our potential. That's on us. And then day 2, unfortunately, we had some technical issues. And then in the final race where no one touched a button and the inverter fired through and we capsized.
Oh my word! Oh, they got the wing all went wrong there. Something went wrong with the wing invert again.
Since then, really, we've been really struggling to get the momentum, and we feel like we're putting the right things in place in terms of our technique and pushing ourselves to our full potential. But
it is hard to really stay focused as a team when you sort of battle a bit of adversity. I had a bit of a short temper because it feels like we've been battling a few issues, but I've got an amazing team. We're a family here at Team Australia, and we've got a culture that we're never going to give up and we're going to keep fighting. So I have full faith that we'll be in the final in San Francisco.
I mean, we're still just inside the top 3 at the moment, which is comforting. Obviously, we've never been in this position where we're on the cusp, I suppose. Second sucks. We're going to win here in New York, and then we're going to win again in San Fran.
Well, as Stevie Morrison mentioned earlier, SailGP is powered by nature. We're all about sustainability. And so with that in mind, we've taken a lot of the teams off the water, off the boats, and put them in this position. This is called Race HQ, and this is where all the coaches and teams gather the information that they share with one another across the board. So you've got 10 international teams all taking part, and this is where they hang out. So this gives us an opportunity to go onshore, and we've got Ben Durham, the coach for Australia. Ben, the big question now, what do you do with these conditions in race number 3, and what are you telling Tom and the crew they can have their very best showing here on the last race of the day?
Yeah, it's certainly getting tricky out there, and this current's certainly becoming a bit of an influence out there as well. Perhaps not quite what the model was showing, which is interesting, so we're just discussing that. But yeah, just got to keep the boat going fast and keep clear air.
Ben, you're quite renowned for your...
struggled a little bit there.
Ben, you're quite renowned for your motivational speeches, and I guess, you know, you're trying to keep yourself in the now right now, but, you know, there's a little bit of pressure on this team, perhaps for the first time ever in terms of that $2 million race in San Francisco. Is your head there at all?
No, not at all. Things are never as good as they seem and never as bad as they seem, right? So we just keep going on here and keep doing what we know what we can do. We'll be okay.
Ben, appreciate the time. We wish you and the Australian team the very best of luck in the 3rd and final race today.
Thank you.
That's Australia head coach Ben Durham in Race HQ. We are less than 3 minutes away from the 3rd and final race. This is the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix from New York City. The last race of the day coming up next.
Mubadala and SailGP making waves together.
So we are a minute away from the third and final race of the day here at the Mubadala, New York Sail Grand Prix. Todd Harris, Stevie Morrison, Emily Nagel, and Lisa Darmanin with you. And it is all about points. Get as many as you can right now. It has been Canada that's been the most consistent. They sit atop the board. That's Switzerland and New Zealand and Great Britain, the top 4 teams. And at the bottom of that leaderboard, Stevie Morrison, you see Germany -4 points, and that is due to the contact they had in practice yesterday with the Australians.
Yeah, they started with a bit of blister on their foot for this event, did they? But look, the wind's really dropped here. Of course, the wind shadow becomes percentage-wise way more important. So all those boats in the pack are struggling here. Rottwell, Denmark, can they wind it up? A late turn in by United States at the bottom of the line. They look like they might be late, but this could work out well for them there. Aggressive moves by Taylor Canfield. Has he judged it right? Middle of the line, Canada are well positioned. Germany show us the pole position place right now, but I like where Canada is, and the Swiss, they're sliding through, but can they accelerate? That was a slow motion start there, but it tactically so tricky in the pack. Australia will struggle. Rottwell, Denmark looking to accelerate the boat now, and it's all about maximizing the performance from those big 24-meter wings and accelerating the boats. Rottwell, Denmark are going well.
And if you look closely, you'll notice there's a different setup on board for this race. There's only 5 sailors on board. So trying to make the boats that little bit lighter and trying to get up in foiling. What will be really interesting to see which teams have dropped which athletes. Typically, we see them drop a grinder, but we know in the case of the US team, they have a male strategist, so they could switch things up differently.
Unfortunately for France, bad news. They do really well in big winds. These are light winds, and they get a penalty. And we're just getting word that race has been abandoned, so this will be a complete scratch, just not nearly enough wind to get these foiling F50s up and motoring. Stevie, in these kind of conditions, this could take 20 minutes just to get to mark number 1.
Well, it's just really changeable, and I think it'd be quite good now to find out from Lisa what she can see. I mean, what we really need to see is what's happening with the clouds around the area. We know there's some storm cells around. When they bring wind, but they also suck wind away. So, Lisa, what are you seeing on the water?
We'll get back to Lisa Darmanin in just a moment, but again, race management has abandoned race number 3.
So while we can't hear from Lisa, I've got the data from the boat so we can see what their wind readings currently are. And across the course at the moment, we've got 6 kilometers an hour of pressure. But what's really wacky is the direction. So at the top of the course, we've got a direction of 220 degrees, while at the bottom of the course, we're seeing 290. So that's pretty different across the course, and you're not able then to run a fair race.
So the fans will get up, stretch their legs. We will wait to see what the decision is for race management, but it does not look like, Emily, from the data you're telling me and the things that we're seeing out here in New York City, that there's a lot of wind coming in the next 15, 20 minutes.
I wouldn't say that. We can't see what's coming. I can only tell you what there is at this very moment. So all it takes, 1 cloud.
Yeah, I think there's every chance we do get better breeze. I think it's so dynamic and so changeable at the moment because these storm cells are popping up around here, and they're going to put wind coming out of them when they do come. So I think we've got every chance of things changing. There you go, look at that, what a fantastic shot there. That dark cloud over there over Manhattan, that'll be potentially sucking the wind out at the moment, but it only needs to move a little bit, change its mind, and start to blow the breeze back towards us, and we'll start to get a good breeze back through. So everyone needs to stay on their feet. The crews, most importantly, need to stay on your feet. We're on board the boat right now, New Zealand, those teams. Let's not get too far away from the start line, because it doesn't take much for Mel Roberts to fire the gun and say we're into a race.
Well, we wait for that decision to be made. We want to remind you, as season 4 of SailGP draws to a close, all eyes are on season 5, and a big announcement as 10 becomes 11. And the SailGP is totally heading their way down to South America as they make their footprint south of the equator. Mark number 1, high speeds across the board. Nerves of steel as they approach mark number 1. The battle is on. So it's Bem-vindo, Brazil, as the league now makes its foray down into South America and touching down in Brazil. Stevie, Emily, this is huge news, bringing Brazil into the fold.
I think this is going to be an amazing team to get to watch, to see them grow. We don't officially know a crew yet, but we know there are some incredible Brazilian sailors, particularly in that Olympic circuit. You've got the likes of Martin Grael and Kayana Kunz, who have won 2 Olympic gold medals and on their way to Paris 2024 this summer to potentially win a 3rd. So it would be brilliant to see both of them on the water.
Big question is, Stevie, who gets the green and gold, the Australians or the Brazilians?
Oh, I don't know. Seems to be a lot of red and white out there, so a couple of green and golds might not be impossible, but we'll see what happens with that. It's just so exciting to go to a new venue. Hopefully we'll maybe get down to Rio, where the 2016 Olympics were, and there's plenty of sailors out on the water that had some nice experiences in 2016 in Rio. Everyone's going to be excited to get there. Just an iconic location, just like we got here in New York.
So there's so many opportunities that you could sail down off the coast of Brazil, and we will see what happens as we look forward to the release of the calendar for season number 5. As the Canadians, they want to get out and race. But the big news coming out of the press conference, 10 becomes 11, and SailGP welcomes Brazil to the SailGP family. Much more from there and that story, and hopefully much more racing from New York City than Mubadala, New York Sail Grand Prix. So the fleet now gets an opportunity to reset themselves. They'll wait to hear from race management as everyone is looking to the conditions all around what's called the tri-state area. New Jersey, New York, Connecticut is wind coming. You see the clouds off to the right-hand side of the screen. And will that fill in? That's what everyone is wondering. Will the breeze come in, or will they have to abandon for the day because not enough pressure, not enough wind to bring the racing and the foiling up to test? So as we wait, we have an opportunity to bounce around the fleet and talk with some of these teams. Lisa Darmanin caught up with Canada's Phil Robertson.
Phil, well, it's getting pretty grim out here, obviously super light, but you guys have had a consistent day considering how tough it's been.
Yeah, it's been extremely tricky. Just keeping the boat foiling's been a big challenge, and there's quite a lot of current as well, so the boat just feels horrible when you've got current underneath, the sort of going in all different directions. So it's frustrating at times, just not feeling fast and loose, but it's yeah, it's been good.
Is it hard when you're going so slow to be able to get over to where you see the pressure?
Yeah, it's actually quite hard to see the pressure as well, but you kind of just got to trust your instincts a bit in this stuff and go where the gut tells you, and it's actually doing more manoeuvres than less, and typically you don't want to really calm the manoeuvres down in the light winds, but throwing a few in that last downwind of that last race was key.
Now, I don't know if the wind's going to come back in, but if it doesn't, what would a start like this look like? Obviously, it's a completely different game.
Yeah, it's a very different game when you're sort of 2 holes in the water. The starts are very different. We call them elbows out. You got to sort of fight for your position and not let anyone sort of get near and lock your little spot down. But yeah, it's very hard. You're sort of, it's unknown for us, so you're sort of kind of thinking on your feet and yeah, winging it a bit.
And configuration-wise, if you drop down to 4 people on board, what's sort of your layout from front to back?
Yeah, the big one is we actually move, our strategist goes right forward onto the grinder, and we have quite a small strategist in Annie, and we actually call it Arnie when she gets on the pumps because she turns it on.
Perfect. Well, we'll let you prepare for the next one, and thanks for chatting, Phil.
Nice, cheers.
So racing has been suspended for the day, which means after 2 races, Canada leads the way, Switzerland in second, New Zealand and Great Britain tied for third. The fans still enjoying a beautiful day here in New York City, day 1 of the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix. here in New York Harbor and Governor's Island. Racing has been suspended for the day, so what was to be 3 is just 2 races, and now we can decompress and look towards tomorrow. Lisa Darmanin caught up with Pete Burling in New Zealand. Let's go down on the water and see if we can catch up with Pete Burling. Pete, tell us how the first 2 races went and the disappointment that you must be feeling not being able to race in the 3rd race.
Yeah, we're a little disappointed they called that 3rd race off. We got ourselves into an absolute beauty of a start down the leeward end. Felt like we're pretty comfy going to be leading at Mark 1, but yeah, I'm not quite sure what they were thinking there. Normally you keep sailing. I mean, if you look at like events like Abu Dhabi where you, you know, a little bit lighter at the start, you keep going. So a weird decision, but you have to live with it, and I'm pretty happy to be walking away 3rd on the overall leaderboard. Then yeah, snakes and ladders, but yeah, not too bad.
Pete, I guess you can only control what you control, and you seem to have that boat going pretty fast around the racetrack out there. Some interesting chats between you and Blair at the top of that race 2. An interesting decision you had to make versus Nathan. You chose to split. How obvious is it to see the breeze and make those tactical decisions out there?
Well, definitely, yeah, the chat between me, Nath, Liv. Yeah, it's quite interesting in this stuff. You actually got a lot more time to talk about things than you perhaps would if it was a little bit windier. So, yeah, bit of a shame we couldn't make the right decision with plenty of chat building up to it, but yeah, it is what it is. And I think yeah, it's always frustrating to be leading down the last run and ended up 3rd, but kind of, it's racing in New York for you. Blair, I don't know if you can hear me, but a little bit of a giggle on there. Clearly hearing that Nathan got promoted to your position on the wing trim in that. How is it in the wing trimming in that such a changeable day, Blair?
Yeah, that's surely what I was smiling about. But no, in that situation, we were trying to take him down. But no, it's challenging. The wind's up and down the whole time, even before it went to a mill pond like this. It was ranging anywhere from 20 knots to 7 or 8. So just trying to keep the boat going fast the whole time, and we did that mostly. A couple of opportunities missed, but we're in a good place for tomorrow.
All right, thank you very much, guys. Wish you the best of luck, and hopefully the wind fills in tomorrow so you can show us what you can do. But New Zealand currently sitting in 3rd place overall after 2 races. So let's take a look at the standings. What was 3 is now 2. It is Canada that leads the way with 16. Switzerland sits at 2nd on 15 points, and New Zealand and Emirates GBR tied on 14. So from New York, we go back to the previous event, event number 11. It was Halifax in Nova Scotia, where the conditions were absolutely epic.
It's a pretty picture-perfect start from Canada, but the German boat, wow! Absolutely flying through the fleet there. Perfect timing from Eric Heil. It's going to be a sprint between France and Germany towards Mark 1.
All the boats are on our bow, you see them. Yes.
Tight moment here, France and Great Britain. Now the British are going to fall off the foils. As soon as they're overlap right now, the British have to stay clear of France. De La Pierre was very kind to him there, but he didn't need to do much more.
And the win in race number 1 in Halifax goes the way of the Spanish.
De La Pierre, oh, he's a little bit loose, but great 2nd place for the French crew.
And it looks like Emirates GBR will hold on for 3rd. That's great points for them.
Here come the French. They're coming in hot. De La Pierre, is there room? It's going to be marginal. I think there is. Oh, he's drove it like he stole it. Quentin De La Pierre, have a look at it. What a job. He snaked his way through. New Zealand have accelerated in time. Should be able to hang on to 2nd place, but what a start by the French.
Joking, this guy. Up to 16 times. Coming up.
Oh, and it's Australia off the foils.
They're going to be out the back of the fleet here with work to do. They're full of water.
Standing by.
Tight cross by Phil Robinson on board Canada. I think he was clean, but he's off the foils. So great upwind leg, but they're off the foils on Canada. And the black foils, well, they're up to 2nd.
Get out in front and stay out in front. That was the plan, and Denmark stuck to it. Race number 2 goes the way of the Great Dane and Rockwool, Denmark. Peter Burling and the Kiwis, the black foils, they will take second place. And Phil Robertson from 7th to 3rd for Canada.
New Zealand are up and foiling, Australia up and foiling. Don't see much of a gap for New Zealand. Oh, he's trying to thread the needle. Have a look at Peter Burling. How's your timing at the bottom of the line here, Australia? Coming in hot. Oh, brilliant by Slingsby. Absolute perfection.
CS penalty over the line early. Switzerland, Germany.
What's your decision, Giles? Do you want to turn right or do you take Lisa's advice and go left?
Are we crossing hand? Take a look.
Coming up. Oh, they go left. They're not, well, they didn't think they were crossing. That's a late decision. They're both going to be slow. Australia are back in the race. New Zealand are up, dropped out. Oh, Canada on the inside. Did he have room? Oh, I don't know if he did. That could be a question asked there. That all happened very, very late. Diving size.
Penalty Canada, relative GBR, not entitled to mark room.
And race number 3 will go to the Australians as Tom Slingsby bounces back to get the final race here on day number 1 in Halifax. At the line, Emirates GBR just edging out Phil Robertson and the Canadians.
Who's got the timing right? Middle of the line. Rockwool, Denmark and France look fast. New Zealand are slow. Here come the French. On the inside, it's going to be Australia. They should have tactical control as we head towards Mark 1.
Here we go as they come to gate number 2. It's France, it's Australia, and it's Denmark. 1, 2, and 3 as the Canadians break away. Oh, Australia and Canada, look how close.
Oh, it was an aggressive turn. It could be a capsize for the Australians. Oh, what a save, Carl Langford. Brilliant save on the wing there. Robertson, oh, the match race, 2-time world champion. He hunted that Australian boat there. What a job by the Canadians. And right now, the Australians are dead in the water.
And in race number 4 on Championship Sunday, it is Oh Canada. The Canadians bring it home for the win. France will hold on for second place, and that sets things up for a wonderful race number 5.
Can Slingsby find a gap to thread the needle? I think I like where Great Britain is right now. Watch for the line to turn white. It's clear. New Zealand have nailed it. Great Britain have nailed it. Look at the breeze. This is going to be hammered down to Mark 1. There's tight moment. New Zealand have got to keep clear, and the Spanish could play spoilers here. They've got over the Kiwis. What work by Botin and crew. Got themselves back in the race. Kiwis looking down there. 93 kilometres an hour on board the British boat. Oh, he's sending it hard there.
Well, what's interesting, Todd, is this rain's really good. Australia's going to come
Australia! Oh, my word! Oh, they got the wing. Oh, went wrong there. Something went wrong with the wing invert again. Oh, no, have a look at it. Oh, look, the wing just starts to invert. Someone pressed the button or something. They've had a problem with that wing invert. Look, it just flips the boat over. Canada on the inside. They have the right of way, but New Zealand are foiling, and they're going to blow around the outside pretty easy here.
Look how close!
Oh, I'm surprised Burling didn't need to push that close to them. Canada just trying to slow them up.
No water.
Oh, what does that mean? Canada are out the final as it stands at the moment.
Yep, that'll put them into 4th, but New Zealand also out. All kinds of chaos in Halifax. The 5th race goes the way of the Gallos. Vamos, Gallos! Spain gets the win. Emirates GBR will take 2nd, the French will take 3rd, and with Denmark crossing in 4th, that could do in the Kiwis.
And that is confirmed. That put GBR, France and Denmark through to the final race.
Nice job, guys.
Oh my God.
Here come the British, they're up and foiling. They're going to start to press on the French, but it's about acceleration. All boats are early here. Here we go, 4 seconds, watch for the line to turn white. Who's got the timing? Great by the British, they're out the middle of the line. Pole Predictor says they look good, but all the boats were slow. It's an acceleration competition from here. Tactically, I like where Great Britain is, but can the Vikings put down the thunder and roll over the top from up there? It's going to be good for Great Britain, Todd, here.
Coming down in 2, easing, 1, working down.
At mark number 1 of the Rockwool Canada Sail Grand Prix Halifax, it is Emirates GBR that gets the whole shot. French tucks in right behind them, and here come the Danes.
Look at the top of the mast there, 90 kilometres an hour on the Barroway. Great Britain needs to go wide here. Watch out. That's what I mean. Those two are slowing each other up. France need to stay. Oh, but look at it. Carnage. Oh, the French had to keep clear. They got too high. That's handed it to the British.
Welcome back to the winner's podium. It will be Emirates GBR that claims the win in Canada. So that was Halifax. GBR takes it. Giles Scott and crew, congratulations to them. And in New York City, it's GBR that gets the win in race 1. Switzerland gets the win in race number 2. So on behalf of Stevie Morrison, Emily Nagel, and Lisa Darmanin, I'm Todd Harris. We'll see you tomorrow for day 2 of the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix. The best sailors in the world battle it out on the Hudson River at the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix.
Ahoy! Great start by Rockwool, Denmark.
Race number 1 will go the way of Emirates GBR.
Switzerland with the perfect start.
Big winners in race number 2, the Swiss.